A $500 starter burnt out by the cheapest part on the machine. A battery that tested perfectly fine. Ask a mechanic. 9 out of 10 of those, the owner swears he just dropped in a new one. One machine read 12.5 volts, just sitting there. Looked new. The owner nearly pulled the starter. Then he watched the needle while it cranked. It sagged. The manual's hard floor is 6 to a battery while cranking. Under that, the computer throws a fault. A healthy one holds far higher. Anywhere near that floor, it's already frying the starter. So the battery passes, and the machine still won't move. That's where the cheap stuff starts hiding, and the next one fools even good mechanics. So the battery checks out, and it still cranks forever before it catches. Everyone blames the battery and the starter, but a diesel starved of air struggles the same way. This black canister is where it takes its air, behind the frame, out of sight, and nobody looks at it. Here's the number. Put a gauge on the clean side and read the restriction with it working hard. Past about 25 inches of water, that filter's choking the engine, and no battery meter will ever show you that. Choked that far, it runs rich, slow to fire, black smoke, down on power. It even flips a little flag when it gets bad, but by then it's been choking a while. Pull the element, and here's the culprit. There it is, packed solid. That's what's been choking your cold starts. And here's the mistake everyone makes. Grab the air gun, blast it clean, bolt it back in. Shop air punches pinholes through the paper you'll never see. Now it looks clean, but it's a sieve, feeding a turbo spinning past 100,000 revolutions per minute. The dust it lets through is harder than the blades. It sandblasts them. So don't guess. Hold it to a light from the inside. Any pinpoints coming through, it's dead. Replace it. Have to clean it? Under 30 pounds per square inch, inside out, twice at most. But clean air's only half the job. The engine still needs clean fuel, and the next filter fools people the same way. Air's handled. Now the fuel side, the one that quietly empties wallets. These lines feed a pump that squeezes diesel past 20,000 psi. Clog the filter, and it starves that pump. The starter spins, the engine cranks and cranks, and won't catch. But a hard start's the cheap version. At that pressure, one speck of grit that slips past carves a groove into an injector needle cut to a few microns. And this filter only stops grit down to 10, finer than you can see. It's a water trap too. Crack the drain underneath. If water or black sludge runs out, it's long overdue. But to get to it, these lines come off first. These lines pop off in seconds. Putting them back is where a filter change turns into a no-start you'll chase for days. Seat this connector wrong or pinch the O-ring on reassembly, and it draws air on the suction side. And here's the cruel part. A suction side leak never drips. No wet spot, no smell. The engine fires, runs 10 seconds, and dies. And the longer it sits, the harder it starts. The trick the old hands use: pump it up with the hand primer and watch it hold. If the pressure bleeds off, that's your leak. Soap the joints and it blows bubbles. Seal it, bleed it, and here's the part all that fuss protects. This is it, the filter, bolted where nobody looks. Clog it and it starves the pump. Hard starts, no power. But dirt isn't the worst thing it stops. It's a water trap. And on common rail, water is the #1 killer. Diesel lubricates the pump and the injectors. Water doesn't. A slug of it hits parts cut to a single micron, metal on metal, corroded needles, pitted seats, grinding the pump dry. So every service, crack the drain underneath. Clear diesel, you're good. Milky or water beads out, it's overdue. And that water's already at the pump. And if what runs out looks ugly, you'll want to cut one open. So you pull it and cut it open. Here's what nobody sees. One half's how it left the box, gold, pleated, open. The other's a year of neglect, packed black with grit and rust. That black half starves the pump, hard starts, power that dies under load. Now the math that stings. The filter's $30, a set of injectors, $2,000 to $5,000. And if that grit reached the pump, you're past $8. Skip the $30 part, buy the $8,000 bill. Cut your old one open. Looks like this, you are on borrowed time. But even clean fuel has to escape the tank. And the next thing that starves this engine is free and sits right on top of it. The next thing's free. Here it is. The cheapest fix on the machine. A pinhole in the fuel cap. As the pump pulls fuel out, air has to get back in through that vent. Plug it. Dust, mud, a wasp, and the tank pulls a vacuum that starves the pump. The tell. It runs, dies, sits a few minutes, restarts, dies again. And cold mornings it barely fires. The test is free. Crack the cap a quarter turn and run it. If it stops dying or air hisses in when you open the cap, that's your vent. Meanwhile, guys drain tanks and swap pumps, chasing a hole you clear with a wire. But crack the cap and it still starves? Then it's the lines to the pump. Cap's clear and it's still starving. Now the lines, and here the enemy isn't dirt or water, it's air. One bubble in the low side, a weak seal, a loose fitting, a dry tank, and the pump can't build pressure. Cranks forever, won't catch, worse every time it sits. The fix is by hand. Crack the bleed plug, work the primer. Bubbles mean air's still in. Pump till it runs clear and the primer goes firm. One rule that saves fingers. This is common rail. Bleed the low side only. Never crack a high pressure line. That fuel's over 20,000 pounds per square inch, and it'll inject straight through your skin. That's the fuel side, top to bottom, but a cold engine needs more than fuel. Everything so far's been about fuel, but on a freezing morning, the last thing between you and a start isn't fuel, it's heat. This engine has no glow plugs. It has a grid in the intake that superheats the air so cold diesel will catch. Follow the path. Turn the key to heat, and the battery sends a jolt through a relay into that grid, and it glows. Simple. 4 parts in a line, which is exactly why it fools people. When a cold engine cranks, coughs white smoke, and won't fire, any one of those 4 could be the dead link. The question isn't, is the heater bad? It's which link in the chain quit. And that, a diagram can't answer. You answer it on the engine. So you climb up top, and here it is, the grid, right in the intake throat. Now you find the dead link. Key to heat, probe the heater terminal, 20 to 30 volts. No voltage? It never left the relay or the switch. Voltage there, but the grid stays stone cold? Now it's the grid. But here's the number that ends it. A live grid pulls near 200 amps. Clamp the cable. No amps, no heat, no cold start. Unplugging it, don't yank. The connectors lock. Pop the tab with a flat screwdriver. And it only fires about 30 seconds, so blink and you'll swear it never ran. So far, none of this needed a wrench. That ends now. Here's a cruel one. The batteries are new. The alternator spins. Everything looks alive, and the machine still won't start cold. The culprit is a part the size of a matchbox, buried inside the alternator where you can't touch it. The voltage regulator. When it slips, it either boils your new batteries dry or never fills them, and you'd never know by looking. You read it at two studs, B and E. Not the regulator itself, just where it confesses. Low idle, 20 to 30 volts. Out of range, it's lost the plot. But the regulator's only half the alternator. It can hold voltage perfectly and still put out nothing if the part that makes the power has died. That's next. So the regulator's fine, and it still won't charge. Because a perfect regulator means nothing if the part behind it, the windings and diodes that make the power, has burned out. Same two studs, but rev it. Medium speed, 27.5 to 29.5. Flat there, dead inside, bleeding the batteries every mile. Now look back, that weak battery we opened with? This is what killed it. The battery was never the villain. It was the victim. And that's every fix you can do without splitting the engine. Battery, air, fuel, heat, charging. Done them all and it still won't fire? Then it's inside. Injectors, pump, compression. That's part 2. If this saved you a misdiagnosis, like, comment, share, subscribe. Part 2, we crack it open.